Go for it, Gary. You're on camera.
Oh, geez, I'm first? I've never been first. My name's Gary Hopper, state rep from Ware and Deering, and I'm here on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades with my co-host Matt hanging out over there.
Hey, everybody.
Oh, there he is.
I'm over here. Just so we should explain so people know that we don't have a guest and we're not sure he's coming.
Right.
So I said to Gary, we can sit on the corner here. It's because that way we're not like turning like this trying to talk to each other the whole show, if that makes sense.
Because we always end up like having neck issues, and then you like sued me for workman's constipation and stuff.
Yes, workman's constipation, and I really didn't get everything I thought I was owed, to be honest with you.
No, you didn't. You got twice as much as you were normally paid, though.
That's true.
For a long time, that went. Hey, did you find that?
Yeah, so I'm trying to open it because it is okay, and that didn't work. Yeah, see, opening a PDF on. Let me try it again.
See, I'm trying to remember what we did in judiciary today because I got brain damage.
And I'm trying. Yeah, okay. Download complete. I'm trying to open a PDF on my phone, which I've never actually done with this phone. Drive PDF Viewer. That sounds like it would work.
Right.
So this is good because I'm learning. Oh, I got it. Okay.
He's educating. Okay, now, if you go down, you'll find out schedule for Tuesday.
Okay.
And that
Tuesday, January 27th.
Now go down to judiciary.
Turn it this way. It'd be easier. Okay, because you're on the judiciary committee, correct?
Yeah. This is the only way I can remember what I did today is by looking at the calendar.
Oh, see, that's why you need a smartphone.
I know.
So you can always remember what you did.
Yeah, because otherwise I have no clue.
If you have amnesia, this would be handy for you.
Exactly.
Okay, Judiciary Room 208 LOB. What's LOB again?
Legislative Office Building.
Okay. All right, so.
That's the building in back of the State House.
Oh, okay.
It used to be a post office.
Okay. So at 10 a.m., HB 290, HB is House Bill, correct?
Yeah.
Relative to the acceptance of risk in outdoor recreational activities. So this sounds dangerous.
Yeah, so let's go through the bill. So that was a bill that basically said that if somebody, right now, I remember last 2012 we dealt with this, where a guy fell out of a tree stand and then tried to sue the. Oh, we got a caller on hold.
Wow, all right. Gary's answering the phone first time.
Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. What's up?
Hello?
Hello?
You're on the air.
Gary and Matt.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
Hey, listen, I got to tell you, I'm watching your show because I simply can't take any more news about the storm. I'm going to burst.
Right.
Put Channel 9 on. It's going to be all about the storm of the Super Bowl, and I can't take it anymore.
There was a storm?
I figured I'd put your show on, okay?
Right.
And I wanted to ask you guys one quick question.
Go for it.
What should the state do about the business enterprise tax and business profit tax? Should we lower them or not? Is it going to generate revenue? Do we need the money so that therefore we can't lower the tax, or do we need to restore the advantage? That's all I'm going to ask, and I'll let you answer that. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
How do I hang up?
Oh, yeah, just same button.
Okay.
Before we address that, Gary, should we maybe talk about the storm and the Super Bowl for a bit?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. There's a lot of snow.
And Super Bowl's next weekend.
That's
this
next weekend. All right, great.
Anyway, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know a lot about the business enterprise tax and the.
Yeah.
I think we're having a lot of trouble acquiring businesses or getting business to come to New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the biggest hurdle we have is electric rates. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that kind of stuff is because the businesses you really want in the state aren't casinos. The businesses you really want are manufacturing, and manufacturing facilities use boatloads of electricity. And I think we could do more if we could figure out ways to get more inexpensive and energy into the state than we could by messing around with the tax structure.
Right. The other thing, too, is you want to be careful, of course, when you start lowering these taxes that you don't I don't know if you've seen what happened in Kansas, but they have a conservative governor, Sam Brownback, who lowered taxes so much in that state that they ended up with a giant budget shortfall. So you always have to weigh that against. I mean, you want to keep your business taxes low so that you're business friendly, obviously, because you want to attract business. But at the same time, you don't want to completely screw up your budget to the point where now you can't pay for anything.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm no expert on this either.
I'm not
but-
either. I don't know how our business taxes relate to Massachusetts or other states in the area.
Yeah.
And I don't know specifically what businesses look to. I mean, if you listen to my Republican right-wing friends, they'll say it's all about right to work, which is really a red herring because only about 1%, I think, of the businesses in New Hampshire, private businesses, are actually unionized.
Yeah.
You know, most of the union representation in the state is all teachers and public employees, not private employees. So I don't know. I guess I can't answer that well enough for the caller. I don't think. I don't know enough about it.
I do hear a lot about Manchester specifically being terrible for businesses, new businesses trying to come in and whatnot.
Well, I think the biggest impediment, one of the big impediments to businesses, and is just getting through the hurdles to start one.
Right.
You know, who do you see? To me, if you want to really entice businesses into the state or into a community, you'd have a pamphlet that says, if you want to start a restaurant, these are the people, this is the phone numbers of the people you're going to have to get contact, and these are the permits you're going to need
Right.
and where to get them.
Yeah.
And all of those people on that list should be doing whatever they can to help you get into business.
Right.
They should be your servant.
Yeah.
They should be serving the people the entrepreneurs who want to start a business, not being in conflict with them.
I love that idea. You know what's funny too is government makes it so hard to do this, but government wants that tax money.
I know.
So if government wants that tax money, why not make it easy to bring in a new business or start a business?
Exactly. I mean, to me, if I wanted to start a manufacturing facility, say in this area, and I went to the town, I don't know who I'd even go see, I guess, say the mayor's office.
Yeah.
And I says, hey, I'm trying to start a business. The first thing they should do is lead you over, says, well, go talk to Joe. And Joe says, well, we have a lot. These are all the facilities that are available. This is how well they're connected to the internet. This is if you're going to use a lot of electricity, the electricity almost never goes out at this location, because
Right.
that's a big deal too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, look at how much money New York lost yesterday
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because they might get snow.
Right. Yeah.
And to me, I don't know why towns, cities don't do whatever they can to make businesses acceptable in
Yeah.
that community.
They do the opposite. They give you.
They do the exact
They
opposite.
have all these stupid little zoning laws. I mean, anyone who's ever had a storefront will tell you. They tell you, if you're gonna have a shingle or you're gonna have a sign in front of your store, it has to be exactly this many centimeters wide and
by
this tall. And
by this tall and
these colors and
these colors, exactly. I mean, we're trying to repeal a zoning ordinance in Ware because of the. I'm sorry, I was distracted. I just saw my picture on the thing. I didn't realize how good looking I am sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
I forgot to mute my phone. Live TV.
yeah, no kidding. But yeah. So anyway, that's my thing. I don't know enough about the taxes, but to me, the cities and towns could do a whole heck of a lot more to try to attract people.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Not put up barriers.
We're just speaking of manufacturing, I was talking to not to get too off track, but I was talking to somebody, and they were talking about the I didn't know it was still going on, but the company that does most of the manufacturing for Apple, for the Apple iPhone and all that stuff,
Yeah.
the employees are still jumping off buildings and stuff like that
Oh, in China.
in China.
Yeah. It's awful.
It's wicked awful.
Awful.
And it's the thing is you don't realize. I guess that explains how people like Obama get elected. It really does, because it's all about marketing. It has nothing to do with substance. in that Apple has such a positive image.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
If you asked any liberal commie out there, sipping on their frickin' lattes, all right, guess what they got in their hand? They got an iPhone, or they got an iPad, or they got something like that.
I got
right?
a MacBook in my briefcase. Right over
Sorry,
there,
nothing
yeah.
personal.
Yeah.
So, and yet, and they love Mac, and
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like a cult following.
Yeah.
And yet, they're one of the worst damn companies in the world. And I forget what percentage of their profit they keep overseas, but it's huge.
Sure. Well,
mean-
we drive manufacturing out. I mean, our government gives people incentives to take their manufacturing elsewhere.
Yeah, but even let's just say that let's presume that Macintosh or Apple was as concerned about people and the environment and everything else that people would assume they are
right.
because of their image.
Right.
All right. They had the option of manufacturing all those iPhones in the United States.
Yeah.
But they would only make, I forget what the numbers are, so don't quote me, 50% profit
Yeah.
or 40% profit. But manufacturing it over in China in slave labor camps where people are jumping off the building and trying to kill themselves, where they actually have to put out netting to catch the employees so they can get them back into the workplace,
Yeah.
they make 70% profit.
Right.
Okay, so instead of being super rich, they want to be filthy rich.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's all about marketing. They're really good at convincing people how wonderful they are.
Sure.
I don't know
sure.
if they give money to the special needs whales or something like that, or what they do to market like that to convince people how awesome and clean and beautiful they are. But man, they're really good. They're really good at marketing.
Well, if they are giving to special needs whales, though, I mean, they deserve some credit for that. I mean, that's an underserved charity in my view.
Right. Most people would just eat them
Right.
or, use it for cheap lamp oil.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Which is a good idea.
it is a good idea. But anyway, I don't know how I got off on that, but it just shocks me how much people will spend on something that they know is probably manufactured with what amounts to slave labor.
Well, that's why I'm proud to say that MacBook I got that for free.
Good. I don't want to know how.
Well, sometimes things fall off a truck.
Right. Excellent.
No, actually, it was given to me by the great Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, whom you've met. In exchange for some services I provided for him. So.
Yeah, you don't have to go into details.
No.
I don't want to know.
No homo, as the kids say.
No. Oh, you're sick. Anyway, so what do we?
Should we go back to your list?
Let's go back to something normal.
All right, let's see. So, before we had that call, you were talking about the tree stand as it relates to this HB 290.
If people remember back in 2011, some guy fell out of a tree stand, or he said the tree stand was defective.
Right.
It turns out maybe he had a few too many to drink and he fell out, but whatever. And then he tried to sue the landowner. The problem was you really can't sue a landowner if you're hunting on their property.
Yeah.
Except the exception to that is if he's paying you to hunt.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so in other words, like if somebody is cross-country skiing in the back of my property and I don't know about it,
Yeah.
I'm not liable if they are dumb enough to, ski into an old barbed wire fence, which there are old barbed wire fences all over the place, okay, and hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody was in a regular ski area where they're paying Pat's Peak to ski,
Yeah.
and they ski close enough to the path but slightly off the path or something like that, or mess up and slide off the path
Yeah.
and hit an old barbed wire fence, well, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they're paying Pat's Peak, and there's a presumption that they've gotten rid of any reasonable hazards,
Yeah.
and that it is as safe as skiing can be, because skiing obviously is hazardous in and of itself.
Sure.
Especially if I'm around. And but anyway, a landowner is not liable for anything that happens to you while you're out in his backwoods.
Right. Yeah.
But the caveat is unless you're being paid to do it.
Okay. Which makes sense.
Yeah. And this guy claimed that the guy that was hunting claimed that the landowner was paying him to get rid of coyotes, or going to pay him for getting rid of coyotes.
Okay.
And that's why he was gonna. But it turns out he's actually never met the landowner. But that was. So, But anyway, so that's the kind of thing, because in New Hampshire we've done one of the good things your legislature has done a very good job of protecting landowners, because the idea is we want the woods and as much natural environment free to as many people as possible. If you want to go skiing, horseback riding, whatever it is, we would prefer if landowners kept their property open. And and you can only do that if they are not liable for things that happen to you while you're on their land.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay, I've got to mute my phone.
And you, if you, just put it on pleasure mode.
There we go. Oh, Gary, I don't know. I don't think this is the right show for that.
Yeah, probably not.
Welcome to Rock, Paper After Dark.
Hand grenades after dark.
Yeah. Oh, I like that even better.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so that's what we've tried to do and actually been really successful at doing. If you go to other states, I've really done very little hunting in other states, but from what I understand, if you go to other states, that isn't the case, and everything's posted because everybody's afraid of everybody being sued. So
Right.
I'll take another call.
All right.
Hello, you're on Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades.
I'm going to disagree with you. It's not about profits and companies trying to make too much profits. It's about government and overregulation. You got to go in front of a zoning board that's mostly made up of Democrats in the state of New Hampshire. Try Concord, for example. And you can't get a sign place to open up your shop because it doesn't meet their standards, which is true. They've turned down supermarkets in areas that would have created tons of towns. Overregulation, overzoning, that's the reason why so many businesses are leaving our country and wanting to go somewhere else. I mean, of course they want to make a profit, but it's not about making big profits. I disagree with you.
Which we disagree with me on the one about Apple?
Well, you know what? Do you blame them? Do you blame them for wanting to go overseas and manufacture there where they don't have to jump through 6 million hoops, where they don't have to worry about the customs coming in with fully automatic weapons because they imported the wrong product, which happened to a company called Spyderco out in Colorado?
Yeah, that happened.
Easily Google it.
Yeah, that happened to something happened to a Gibson guitar too. I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Rated for pieces of wood, and you want to know why companies are going overseas.
No,
Instead of the people blaming companies for trying to make a profit, why not put the blame where it belongs in this overregulation and overburdening behaviors?
See, Jen, I love you, but
yeah.
I think the fact that Apple could have manufactured it in the United States and still made quite a profit, but would rather go over and use what's considered basically slave labor.
Why is it government's job to decide how much profit a company should be allowed to make?
I'm not saying they should.
Makes profit based on their customers. If they fail, it's because of their customers. If they succeed, it's because of their customers. It's not for government to say, well, we don't want you to make too much profit, so you shouldn't be allowed to go overseas. You should be stuck here and live under our regulations to make less profit and just be happy with what we're giving you.
Okay, so if I use that same argument, let's say we bring this back a few thousand years and these same products were being assembled and manufactured by Jewish people in Egypt.
Why does
who
this
are
have
being
anything to do with Jewish people in Egypt? Are you having an anti-Semitic moment?
because at that point they would have been slaves. So if it was being built by slaves, would it still be okay, or is that the business of the government in that country and none of our business what we consume?
You're using hyperbole and you're using fear factors of a topic that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Yes, it
And
does.
justify your position.
No,
The
no.
bottom line is government should not be controlling how much industry succeeds or fails. That should be based on customers. What government should be doing is getting the heck out of the way so more job creation can take place. Government doesn't create jobs, but it sure as heck knows how to stop the creation.
Yes, I agree with you that government is can be extremely oppressive, but I contend that capitalism without morality is really no better than slavery.
Whose morality? Who are you choosing?
I just
Who's
chose.
setting the moral standard? What moral standard says, okay, you've made too much or you haven't?
No,
made too
I'm not
much?
saying that. I'm not saying about
Well,
make
you are.
it.
You're
No,
saying morality is going to judge it.
I am saying morality in that if you if the reports are correct, and in effect, the Chinese people have almost a slave labor force that are so abused that they're willing to kill themselves instead of keep working, that is fundamentally immoral,
I agree.
and that your version of capitalism leads to that. My version of
I don't think it. I don't think that it leads to
Of
that.
course
Your
it does.
version is government control.
No.
Government corporatism.
I'm saying
My version is let the free market prevail, and the businesses that will succeed based on their customers.
no, they will not.
As far as the situation, as far as people jumping off of buildings, look back through history. That's something that has happened continuously in that culture and has to do with their culture. And to throw
Really?
it in there and say, "Oh, it's all because
You're really
Apple
gonna
went
put it
over there."
on? No,
Take
you
it
real
to
no
my
way. You're full of baloney. There's no way you're gonna tell me that the Chinese have a culture of jumping off of buildings.
Really? Have you read your history on China? Have you read about their belief in
I have-
honor, their belief in taking their own life in order to preserve family honor? It's a long-held
Oh, that-
tradition.
I-
And we had people jumping off of buildings during times when there were, great catastrophes in the stock market. That's something that also occurred over in other countries, not just in the United States.
Okay, so if
Not
you're
full of baloney. Look up their history.
if your theory is correct, does that mean that more Asian people of Asian descent in the United States have a higher rate of suicide by jumping off of buildings?
Now you're trying to do a collectivist thing and trying to trick me into something. You know what? People in the United States are people in the United States. I don't know what goes on in another country and another culture.
Well, whoa, you
know
just
what I
said
do.
you
I don't
did!
know what happens on a History
You're-
Channel.
You just said you did. You said they all do that over there. Like they're all those.
They have a history in their culture of honor killings in order to preserve.
Honor
the
killing
name
is
of
not the
family,
same as
and that's
jumping off a building.
fact.
This-
They did put up netting.
Oh
mean,
yeah, they
that's-
did.
that's
That's so
something.
they're so compassionate. No, I see. To me, as far as
I
I'm,
don't believe that Apple is the sole purpose of people jumping off of buildings in Japan. I'm sorry. I'm not
China.
buying into it.
okay, whatever. I believe that capitalism, unfettered by morality, will lead to what you see in China. It led in the United States to what in some of the
I want to know what
Wait,
morality
wait,
you're
wait.
going to choose to lead the bus. Whose morality are you accepting as good?
Let
And
me-
they're going to be at the head of the bus and in charge of everything. And whose morality you're going to say, nah, we don't like your way of doing things. You sit in the back of the bus. Your opinions don't matter.
Okay, you gonna let me finish, or you gonna keep rambling? You all set for a second? So
You can give it a shot. Go for it.
okay, if you look back in the mid 1800s, the industrial in England and the United States during the cotton boom, if you want to call that, the industrial areas treated their employees so badly. There was one young girl actually in England who was, I think, 8 years old when she started in manufacturing. And there was a big thing about her because I think when she was about 12, she had been so berated for not working as fast as she should be, because she was working over 12 hours a day, if memory serves me correctly. They actually put like a steel ring around her neck to kind of humiliate her for her not meeting up to her what they think was standards. You had young kids that were basically doing these manufacturing jobs and ending up losing hands and stuff like that. They weren't going to school. To me, that's immoral. And yes,
I agree.
Yeah, the 1800s. The 1800s were a pretty rough period of history,
and that is
obviously, you're talking about the situation in London. Obviously, something happened to galvanize the people in London and change their rules on employment of children.
Yeah, it's called unions. So you had that.
One could argue about whether or not they do us any good or not these days. Back then, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Nowadays,
you also had you not only had the poor classes in the North being abused and in manufacturing plants. You also obviously had the blacks in the South because you needed slaves to produce the cotton fast enough to keep all those cotton mills supplied with cotton.
Slavery. Can you stick with the 21st century in your discussion, or is
I
that
don't.
possible? We're at 1800s. We're at slavery.
Right. The point is
now.
Yeah, no, the point is human nature has not changed in 2,000 years, much less 150 years. And what you see in China is exactly what you should expect if people are corporations are allowed
well, they're encouraged in a sense.
They're encouraged.
The United States border. So in other words, corporations should go and operate outside other countries and just import here, because if they're going to be listed as a United States company, well, that's a different story.
Yeah, whatever. I just think you're absolutely wrong. I think there's a basic set of moral beliefs that most people can agree on. The ones that pretty much are filtered throughout this Judeo-Christian society we live in, that, for instance, the Golden Rule and things like that.
Judeo-Christian society that you choose to live in under your belief system, not the belief system of every citizen of this state.
No, I didn't say it was every. I did not say.
Nor should it be force-fed. So I'm going to disagree with you there, and good luck to you, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, Merry Christmas. See you later, Jen.
Love you.
Hanukkah.
Yeah, but no, I absolutely disagree. I think you have to have some sort of moral standards, and just because a manufacturer can make boatloads of money doesn't mean they should.
I think I don't have a problem with. See, I don't.
I mean,
I don't think the two of you were disagreeing as much as it seemed. I think but I don't have a problem with them making. Let me put it this way: I don't have a problem with them going to China to make more money as long as the United States continues to have a government which encourages businesses to leave and do their manufacturing elsewhere. Because I think that as a business, they have a right to do that and make that decision. But where I certainly agree with you is that if they have people jumping off buildings wherever they are, China or wherever else,
India, wherever
because the conditions are so horrible, I agree with you. That absolutely is immoral, and they, as a company, should be ashamed and embarrassed that they do that. And I think that is a standard of morality that we should all be able to agree on. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you have people in a manufacturing facility, they should be able to afford to eat and live and have, the other thing too is that mentality they have in China is self-destructive. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you look back at Henry Ford, he said, in effect, that if the people manufacturing this car can't afford one, then who's going to buy my product? And it's the same thing with Apple. They're actually shooting themselves in the foot. If they had manufactured those in the United States and they only made 40% profit, Well, then you'd have this huge pool of people that are A, paying taxes, B, making a pretty good wage, because manufacturing jobs are actually really good jobs.
Yeah.
And American employees tend to outproduce people around the world. So it's
Yeah.
a win-win situation for everybody, except in this case, Apple wouldn't make as much. Now, she is correct that the federal government has lost their frickin' mind
Right.
as far as going after Gibson guitar because they have
Right.
some rare wood from someplace.
Right.
that-
Right.
Or I think she said there's a few other cases where
Oh,
they've
yeah.
gone
Spyderco and-
Spyderco and stuff like that, and
Yeah.
just tormented people because they can.
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
or they've also, from what I understand, Obama's administration has used their power or authority to try to shut down coal mines or shut down lead smelting companies, all kinds of companies that they're using their authority, which I don't think they should even have, to destroy some really good industries
Right.
around the in the United States. So she is correct. Okay, and I understand that, but to me, the moral guideline should be that we should not be having free trade with any country that the people in that country are not allowed, if they are not allowed to freely organize.
Yeah.
Okay, like for instance, if we're willing to trade, say China,
Yeah.
if those people are not do not have the ability to organize and fight for their own rights,
Yeah.
or go on strike, or do any of the things that you can in the United States or Canada, England, France, Japan, or any
Sure.
place else, then we should not have free trade, because that's not free trade. That we're not playing on the same playing field.
Yeah.
I mean, we make our playing field horrible by as a point some of the regulations we have. I
absolutely.
totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But if their labor force is just basically slave labor,
Right.
how can you an American manufacturer even come close to competing with that?
I think the rationalization in the case of China, because it seems like it's been this way for decades now. Like I remember noticing this when I was a kid. There's this sort of tenuous relationship where, on the one hand, obviously we're not happy about their civil rights abuses, and remember Tiananmen Square and things like that. There's a lot of things about China and the way they treat their people that make us very unhappy as Americans who do have, somewhat of a standard of morality that we can all agree upon, but we're so damn dependent on them because of our complex economic relationship with them. It's like I feel like we almost have to kind of walk on eggshells with them, and I think that's kind of been the tacit sort of unspoken policy of many administrations that we're gonna we'll express our displeasure about China and what they do and how they treat their people, but we're not gonna really push it because they own so much of our debt now, and if we just were to say one day, well, we're not going to trade with them anymore, that's it, then we might be hanging ourselves in the process. I'm not making that as any sort of a moral argument, because I fundamentally agree with you, but I'm saying just as an economic argument, I think that's kind of the policy of the United States.
Yeah, but that was all deliberate. I mean, if you look back in the 70s and 80s, it was deliberately. You look, Bush Sr. and Clinton. This isn't a Democrat-Republican thing. This is a, I call it. What do you call it? I don't know. I can't think of the name. But anyway, this is. Back then, Bush and Clinton were both expressing this great new society that they were going to create by going to a service economy.
Yeah.
Okay, and part of that service economy was to try to ship as many of the jobs as they could overseas, and they collectively did it.
Oh yeah.
They passed the laws that made those markets happen.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. I am absolutely positive if you checked into where Bush Sr. had his money and the Clintons had their money and their friends had their money, it was all in those overseas investments.
I believe it.
Okay,
Sure.
and I'm sure they made a boatload of money off it.
Sure.
And the problem I saw immediately, as soon as they said service economy, is what you have now.
Right.
Those fruits are coming to fruition.
Right.
Because if you're a shoe shine boy, you're a service. That's a service economy job.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a shoe shine boy, you can't afford, a nice car or a nice this or a nice that. So, you basically are deliberately deleting the middle class.
Right. And the manufacturing sector was decimated in this country. It's come back a little bit, but not
much.
enough. Not
But
enough.
I know that as a tool maker in the 70s, I could quit my job today and find a job tomorrow.
Right. Right.
And by the time within 20 years, that was not the case.
Yeah.
It was difficult to find manufacturing jobs, machinist or not.
Yeah.
And there was all kinds of other jobs that are associated with that. And those were the high-paying jobs. Those are the middle-class jobs that, people bought the house in the suburbs and all that stuff with.
Right.
Not everybody is supposed to be blood-sucking lawyers. you know?
Right.
Not that all lawyers are blood-sucking.
No.
No, there's some that aren't. Just few. Just a couple. What else? Anyway, what else did we do today?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So anyway, back to the land thing.
Yeah.
So this bill was to. I got the feeling it was kind of unnecessary. It was to make sure that people who are using people's property for horses and things
Right.
like that won't be. They would can't find a landowner liable also.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of already covered.
Okay.
So I'm not so hepped up on that. I like the idea, but I think it's already pretty well. We've done a pretty good job in New Hampshire to keep the land, as much land as possible, open.
Yeah.
What else do we do after that one?
So then at 11 a.m., House Bill 292. Oh, this is interesting. Expanding the Good Samaritan law to engineers and architects.
Now that's actually a good one. And one of the guys at church is an architect, and he asked me to support this. And what it is that if there's a huge natural disaster, okay, like what happened in New York yesterday, with all the buildings collapsing and everything.
Yes, underneath the weight of all that
underneath the
snow.
weight
is
of
like
underneath the tonnage of that 4
we don't
inches
want-
of snow.
I know we don't want to talk about snow, but they
Yeah,
got like
sorry.
10 feet of snow, I think, right, or something.
4 inches.
Oh,
Same
4
thing.
inches. Yeah, close
4
enough.
inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyway, under a huge natural disaster, you have, say, hundreds or whatever buildings that are compromised.
Yeah.
Right now, if FEMA calls a bunch of volunteer nurses or doctors, and they go in and they're basically doing triage, trying to get in a bad situation. Let's say somebody was stuck under that 4 inches of snow, and
Right.
they had anyway, if they're doing triage, they're protected
Yeah.
because under the Good Samaritan law. But the people that aren't are also licensed, just like a doctor or nurse. Architects and engineers are also licensed by the state to do their craft, and they want protection so that if they go in to one of those buildings that was compromised by the 4 inches of snow in New York, they could determine whether or not the building is safe to go occupy, not safe.
okay.
But the problem is they have to do this within like a few minutes, like 15, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So they didn't build the building. They might
Right.
not even have the blueprints on where the structural beams are and everything else.
Sure.
But they still have to go in there and say, yeah, this is okay. People can go in here. Or I think there's like 3 labels. There's a yellow label where it's okay to go in, but don't stay there, or it should be looked at later on.
Yeah.
And then there's another one where nobody's allowed to go in here because it can collapse at any minute.
Yeah.
And they wanted protection because as a professional, they could easily get sued by a business owner who was told to stay out,
Okay.
and then somebody goes in there later on when they have more time and they've got the blueprints. They says, no, this was nothing wrong with this.
Yeah.
Or conversely, they're told they think it looks okay, and people go in and it collapses on them.
Yeah.
So they're expected to go in and make a judgment call in what it amounts to almost like a split-second decision,
Sure.
and then move on to the next building.
Yeah.
So this would protect them, so there's no liability associated with that, because
Okay.
otherwise they could lose everything.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Are there instances where this specific thing has been an issue?
Yeah, there was testimony. Well, not not in New Hampshire,
Okay.
but there was some place where a guy went and said, "Yeah, it's okay," and then the building collapsed or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't remember the specific testimony, but yes, there were instances.
Okay.
The other states protect their engineers, because what they really want, and FEMA has access to a few architectural firms in an event of emergency to go in and do things.
Okay.
But in a massive emergency, they need more people than that. This would give them a pool of just about anybody that was willing to volunteer.
Right.
And I think there's some training they have to go through to know, not about engineering, but more about process if something like that is to happen. And once they're certified, they can it's like they're on call, so to speak, in case of an emergency.
Oh, okay.
But California gets around the liability by deputizing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for the purpose of this event, you're deputized under the state.
So that's a real thing. That's not something they just do in old westerns. Deputizing people.
No, deputizing I guess has other meanings besides
I'll be
putting.
damned.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. I wonder if they get like a badge.
I hope so.
It'd be wicked
How
cool.
awesome would that be?
Yeah, I wonder if they deputize legislators. Let's see.
All right, so we'll move on. At 1 p.m., House Bill 315, relative to termination of tenancy.
Yeah, that was. I'm going to forget exactly what that was, but relevant. Right now, for a few different instances of, you can file a bill to get rid of a tenant.
Yeah.
Not a bill, but file a eviction notice.
Yeah.
And on most of them, they have I think 28 days or whatever to get out. This would, for certain instances, shorten that to 7 days.
Well, I know now if you get served an eviction notice, you have 7, according to the notice itself, because it's interesting, because I've seen these. The way it's written, I won't say why I've seen them, but the way it's written, it makes it seem like you have 7 days from that date to get out. And of course, it doesn't really work that way. You have 7 days to get out or pay the rent, or then the landlord will go to court. But if you read an eviction notice, it's almost, I guess it's written to scare you into action, because it's written as though you either got to get out or we're changing the locks in 7 days and you're screwed.
Right. Yeah, and that's just it. It's the people the honest people, so to speak, who get these notices, who are just having a tough time, would be inclined to have to leave and move in with mom and dad for a while till they get someplace else.
Yeah.
But the people that are actually this is designed for, the people that are abusing the system, know better.
Yeah.
And will push it till they. So I don't know. I'm not too hepped up on that one.
Yeah.
But
because I was gonna say, it looks like that's the rest of the day was landlord stuff.
Yeah.
At 1:45, House Bill 309, permitting landlords to remove tenants' property in certain circumstances. Actually, that's kind of interesting.
That's interesting. That's a tough one too. This was the particular instance was, or the thing is, there's always a jerk tenant.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that every time there's a jerk tenant, you want to pass legislation to try to alleviate the issue, because for every jerk tenant, there's a jerk landlord that'll take advantage of the law when you pass it.
Sure.
In this particular case, there's a couple of cases that were testified to, and one was the tenant had left an old couch out in front of the building.
Okay.
And the tenant was, again, one of these professional tenants, if you want to call them that,
Yeah.
educated into what he can and can't get away with.
Okay.
And
yeah.
the landlord says, "Do you mind if I throw it out?" And he says, "No, that's my property. You can't touch it." and the landlord knew that it was his property and can't touch it.
Right.
So it like stayed out there. The town got upset because there's couch out there.
Yeah.
You know, it's this BS going back and forth.
Bizarre.
You know, and the other application they wanted for is if a tenant has like an old beater, maybe it's registered, maybe it's not, and it's like in a fire lane or blocking access to the dumpster.
Right.
They want the ability to give the guy really brief notice and then just tow it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a double-edged sword too, because you got somebody who's, you know, driving a car that probably is not up to snuff because they can't afford to maintain it.
Right.
You know, because they're just trying to get back and forth to their job at McDonald's.
Right. Right.
And the landlord has it towed. Well, that's, you know, $60 to have it towed.
Oh,
and
at
if
least.
if they can't get to bailing it out of Hawk by their next paycheck, well, that's $50 a day. So now the person that can't afford to fix their car has a bill for, you know, $500. And you know, so it's not as clean cut as, you know, I would like. I mean, it's not. I see the issue that the landlord might have, and I see the tenant side, and I don't think it's as easily solvable as people would like to think.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't think we would need all this new legislation for this stuff, but
No.
somebody does apparently. And like I was saying, it looks like the rest, let's see, at 2:30, HB 269 was allowing a landlord to collect first and last month's rent in addition to a security deposit. I thought they could already do that.
No,
They can't do that in New Hampshire?
no. In New Hampshire, they can collect first month's rent and the security deposit, but not last month's rent.
Okay.
And they wanted the freedom, so to speak, to do all three.
I think in Massachusetts they do
Massachusetts
that. Maybe that's what
they
I'm thinking
do.
of. Yeah, which is brutal. That's 3 months worth of rent to come up with.
Well, if you're talking again, we're talking the working poor, which is people that are who are actually holding all these service jobs that
Right.
that Bill Clinton and Bush Sr. were so psyched about.
Yeah.
What are they making? For $8 or $9 an hour. What is that? That's $400 a week.
Yeah.
Right. Minus taxes, because you got to pay taxes.
Yeah.
So they're making $400 a week, and rent. The average rent in New Hampshire and lower rent in Manchester right now is about $900 to $1,000, right, for 1 or 2 bedroom.
Is it? Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right.
Okay, so it's $900. So now they got to come up with $900, say a $500 security deposit. So that's, $1,400. Now you're going to add another $900 on top of that.
Oh, yeah. Brutal.
Okay. So that's,
Brutal.
$2,400 they got to come up with.
Yeah.
And they're making $400. So that's, 6 weeks pay.
Yeah.
As long as they don't eat for 6 weeks.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Or feed their children or clothe their children or anything else.
Right. Yeah.
So it is really a brutal. We had a lot of testimony against that.
Did you? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that one's dead on arrival. Hopefully.
Yeah, and it looks like that was it. And then it says executive session on pending legislation may follow.
Right, we're running out of time. Hey, tomorrow night, go down to see what's on Thursday, can you?
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
Judiciary Thursday.
Let me scroll. Wow, there's a lot here. Okay. I missed it. That's Friday. Let me back up. Okay. So Thursday, at 10 a.m., judicial branch presentation.
Yeah, that's the judicial branch is going to present us with all kinds of information.
Oh, okay. 11:15 a.m., CACR 9.
11:15?
Yeah. Looks like you got a long presentation at 10 because the next thing's not till 11:15.
Yeah.
Relating to judgment on impeachment, providing the persons impeached by the Senate forfeit their state pensions and state-funded insurance.
Yeah, that's actually a bill that almost doesn't matter
Why?
because we never get to impeach anybody.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it's rare that you even hear that word. 1 o'clock, CACR.
Now, hey, this at 1 o'clock.
This is a good one?
I'm going to be chairman of judiciary because our main chairman, Bob Rowe, is in Florida for a week or so.
Oh.
And the vice chair, which is Joe Hagan, who's a Dr. Joe Hagan, really nice guy. He's got something he's got to go do. So I'm the third person on the list, basically, because of how long I've been there.
Yeah.
And so I get to cause trouble.
Do you get to actually hold a gavel?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
That's
yeah.
awesome, dude.
Power. I
Nice.
love power.
Yes. That's the whole reason you do this,
That's it,
right?
exactly.
The love
yeah.
of power.
Love of power.
So CACR 8 relating to the nomination and appointment of officers, providing that judicial officers shall be confirmed by the legislature.
That's not going anywhere. Okay. Next. No, it's not a bad idea. I just know we've tried stuff like that in the past, and they're dead pretty quick. But anyway.
At 2 o'clock, you've got House Bill 247, prohibiting the assignment and acceptance of recommendations of unauthorized judicial referees.
Yeah, that would be pertaining to, we have one marital master whose name is Cross, who is in Derry, and we got lots of complaints. There was a bill of address to try to remove him. Then there was a bill to impeach him. And in both instances, they said we couldn't because it wasn't the correct tool to do so. It was it kind of seemed more of like a scam than anything else. But it was in regards to this one marital master.
Yeah.
Who now they've changed his title and put him over in Goffstown, and he's now called a marital referee.
Really?
Yeah, so it's just a change. They just changed his name and to protect or to. So I've never heard. By the way, I've heard all the complaints against him.
Yeah.
And some have been from constituents. So
Yeah.
This really bothers me. But by the same token, I've never heard his side because he's never come to the House to actually defend himself.
Yeah.
So that, and if we had ever gotten to the point where he was impeached and had to, that would have been awesome. Just because I would love to hear his justification for some of the decisions he's made that seem like almost not illegal, but pretty dang close.
No kidding. Well, if he does show up to do that, I hope he wears a referee's shirt and a whistle.
Yeah, you would think.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Yes.
And then finally at 3 p.m., House Bill 246, jury nullification, something we've talked about a lot on this show.
I think that's probably requiring, is that the one that's requiring judges to, basically, we passed jury nullification, and I think a lot of judges aren't necessarily allowing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that's what that has to do with. I'm not positive.
It just says, that's all it says relative to jury nullification, and that's it. That's your day, Thursday.
My day. That's it.
That's your day planner.
And that's our day.
Yeah, we're about out of time.
We're out of time.
So
I wanted to get into why I'm not a libertarian, but
I think you kind of did. Actually.
Yeah.
I think you kind of did.
And anyway, thank you very much, folks. We'll see you next week, and hopefully the power doesn't get to me tomorrow and I get in the news or something for something cool.
Chucking your gavel at somebody.
Throw my gavel at somebody. That'd be
You'd
awesome.
make national news for that.
Yeah, I could.
Yeah.
We'll see.